What happened is I'm sure you were aware that AI had been in desperate financial uh, straits for some time. There had been a lot of problems, and the school was always on the verge of closing. They were looking for a buyer to come through and save the day. And so when this organization, the Dream Center, which is a front for the Pentecostal church, showed up, people were just like, yay, our heroes are here.
Those dang putrid people. They accept me as a frickin' student after they lost their accreditation. 2 months. 2 months before they lost their frickin' accreditation. They said, yeah, this is a great school to learn, to be learned at. And I'm like, cool. And so I get 2 terms in, and I see it on the frickin' news that they're closing. That's how I found out, through the frickin' news, right? What is this, like?
In January of 2018, the deal went through finally, and everybody thought, okay, here we go. And when they came through, it seemed real positive. People said nobody's going to lose your job. We got all these plans for expansion. Unknown to most people, at least most of the faculty, probably some administrators knew, but HLLC, when the Higher Learning Commission, when they found out that Dream Center had bought the AI system, that was a real red flag for them, because they'd had dealings with the Dream Center before. I don't know what kind, but their reputation was not good. And so AI lost its accreditation. The thing about that is nobody told the students or the staff.
When it was announced we were closing, I was determined to clear out the library. I wanted to make sure that all of the books found homes and didn't end up in the dumpster. And I had no idea where I was going to get work.
So I had a friend who taught full-time online for AI. And I also had a friend that taught for AI in another state. And I would communicate with them when I was working there to try to figure out what was going on with the company, because it was really confusing for the instructors as well as for the students. So they were often experiencing similar things, a lot of confusion about what their job security was like and if the school would keep going the next term or not. So it also affected instructors in that way too.
We were on break between quarters, you remember that, and everybody thought, okay, things are rolling along nicely. And then out of the blue, we all got a letter in the mail over the weekend while we were on break, and you guys got an email right as the new term started telling us that, your job will end on or before this date. The school is closing its doors for good on this date.
At that time, that was the biggest one that we had. And it was a lot. It was mostly AI students. And it was just like a flood of them. Like, what were these students supposed to do at that point,
Exactly.
Yeah. So like, where were they supposed to go? You have all these students that are, at different points in their degree, and we're pretty much the only other art school in the Southwest. So
I think
everybody
you're the only one.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. So they kind of had no choice but to come here to REMCAD. And like, in just being a student ambassador and talking with students and getting to know people's stories, and kind of just out of general interest of like what certain people had to say about the whole situation, it's really frustrating to see like how everything affected people differently.
And I started contacting all the schools in the area and to ask if they wanted some of the books. And I was able to reach out to REMCAD, and they said, yes, we can take some books. So they came over, and Rob Fladry and Catherine from the library came to the Art Institute to get books for the REMCAD library. And when they were there, Rob said, hey, do you have a resume? Because their librarian had passed away the previous year. As it happened, I did have a resume ready to go. And so I was hired on within a couple of weeks of meeting Rob.
Well, so we first learned that AI may be closing in early July of 2018, and that was just for the Colorado branch. And so what we did at that time was reach out to the Colorado branch to see what sort of assistance they would like with their students. And there were two options that were on the table. One was to do articulation agreements for transfer students. Unfortunately, that only helps students who have, it's only up to 60 credit hours. So if you have more than 60 credit hours, which was a large population of AI Colorado students, we couldn't do anything for them except up to the 60 credit hours. So the other option that we looked at was what is called a teach out. And a teach out essentially says that we will accept all of the credits, regardless of whether or not they fit into our degree programs, and then figure out what students need to complete their degree programs here. So those are the two different options that we started looking at in July. However, we didn't secure either of those options until much later. It took some time to get those up and running.